Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Let's talk about the clown show that is the Atari hotels and their team members. Guys, why do they all look like this? All the Kickstarters, right? I don't know. It's something about the clothing, right? Let's look at these descriptions, guys. When I was reading this, and shout out to Jersey28 made a comment on the last Atari video that he was reading this and got chuckles out of it. I did too, but I didn't know if I should make a video on it or not. But then I thought to myself, you know what? It's a good exercise for showing people red flags, right? When you're looking at these kind of things and the kind of language you're looking for, right? Let me tell you this, guys. If you're building a hotel, if you're doing any project and somebody asks you to invest, you have to show experience. Can you imagine if I showed up to your house and said, I want to be your next mechanic? And you ask me, well, what are your qualifications for working on my Toyota 4Runner or, my Toyota truck, whatever. And I say, well, I'm determined. I am fierce. I have vision. And I use all these words, but I don't tell you that I have any mechanical experience. What would you tell me? You'd tell me to go pound sand, right? And you should look at every single investment opportunity like that. And before I start, let me tell you, this is not financial advice of any kind. You should seek a professional's help for financial advice because they have your best interest at heart if you hire them. Right? So that's why you have to go seek them. This right here is entertainment, and looking at this clown show and how they decide to describe themselves for a project that they want, $14 million for, but really costs more than $100 million to develop. And there is no clear track record here that I can see, at least based on what they put out publicly. What I see is a lot of BS terms that mean absolutely nothing. If I was to tell you that I was the best rapper in my house, that would be factually correct because nobody else in my house raps except for me, and I rap terribly. But I would be the best rapper. So let's look at these team members here, these esteemed team members. The strategist, Jason, he built a 4.1 tech empire. Then he turned to real estate to bend skylines instead of code. Okay, what projects? It's great that you did tech, right? But making whatever tech you made is not the same as building hotels. Two different sets of qualifications. A surgeon is a great professional. Absolutely amazing. But if you want your toilet unclogged, you don't want him anywhere near. You want a plumber, right? This right here is no qualification other than, are you going to be fronting the money? Right? It's impressive that you built a 4.1 billion empire, and this should be the first red flag here. So if you have 4.1 billion in assets that you ran through before, why does he need your money? Huh? That's a huge question. Why share the wealth? That's not what people do. If you do your own projects, let me turn on the light here. If you do your own projects, you don't need anybody else. You don't need to bring anybody else on board. Right? That should be a major red flag. Whenever these guys throw these numbers out and you're going, well, why don't you just finance yourself? If you, right, made or ran through $4.1 billion, wouldn't you still keep like $500 million? What would you need any of this, nickel and dime stuff? Doesn't make sense, does it? It doesn't pass a smell test. But people don't think that way. They're like, oh, 4.1 billion, that's impressive. Especially if you're like a super Atari fan, a ball washer, that type of, you know what? And if you're out there and you're upset that I'm doing this analysis, let me tell you right now is a good time for you to shut your pie hole. Because you don't know what you're talking about. Absolutely. All right, this is not financial advice for anybody, but this is what I do. I assess risk for a living, right? And I don't even have to go in deep analysis in this stuff. And most of you out there, right, can smell this stuff out right from the beginning before you even take it to your financial advisor. Now we have Jordan over here. He's a deal maker. 300 milli, structured across 5 markets, blending finance with fearless vision. There you go. He's the mechanic. No qualifications. The deal maker. What does that mean? Is that a degree in hotel building? I don't think so. I've never heard of that. Right, you can look up a university. The deal maker degree does not include building $100+ million hotels, and he's already done $300 million. Well, again, these two guys can finance the whole thing just with their money. Why do they need your money? Right? With fearless vision. That's something you would tell somebody on the first date or something. Shelley Murphy, the ambassador of what? You're ambassador to England? Ambassador of brands? You represent brand? But what is it? Right? I'm the ambassador of the Gen X Gamer channel. I can say, oh, I had this, that, and the other. 900 million. What was 900 million plus? Again, now we have 3 people that could build this. They don't need your money. Look at all these millions of dollars and billions of dollars that they built. Issued in private equity bonds. Okay. What was your role specifically in that? What kind of bonds were they? Were they AAA bonds? Were they junk bonds? It's a huge difference, right? You may want to know that before you throw money at this. And they don't specify here, of course. The architect, Zach Owen, $2.6 billion in projects across continents. Wow. Oh man, this has to be the guy with the experience, at least in design, right? Where art, form, and future meet. That doesn't mean absolutely jack squat. Nothing. Doesn't mean anything. Okay, these projects, were they hotels? Huh? Were they commercial hotels? Are they comparable to this? What was your role? Were you the lead architect in these projects, or were you the guy getting coffee? Kind of important, right? If you're going to invest. Again, if he was involved in 2.6 billion, I mean, these guys have money. Why do they need your money? It's just incredible, right? That you would share such a visionary project as the Atari Hotel. You would share the wealth with all these peons. Why do you need their money? Again. Oh, here's where the good ones start. Right? This is where their nonsense start. I don't know who they got to write these, but maybe Tommy Tallarico. Aaron is the scholar, strategy, mastery, momentum. This sounds like something Gavin Newsom would say. Blueprinting vision into form. Is that some sort of degree in building hotels? I don't think so. Oh, geez. Sidney O'Casey, the catalyst. What are these, superheroes? Call them catalyst? Culture, brand, heartbeat, making concrete feel human. Where? What project? What was evaluation? Were there any losses? Have any of these people worked on any building that losses occurred? If they haven't, they're not even real. Nobody has 100% track record on these things. When you're a builder, something always happens, right? Did you go over budget a little bit? Were you, late on the project? What happened? Not everybody bats 1,000 in business, guys. If anybody claims it does, they're full of crap. Now, here are more stars. The Reckoner, Adriana Torres, precision, principle, pulse, keeping the story behind the numbers honest. What does that mean? Am I reading a book, or are we building $100 million plus hotel here? Is that what investors are supposed to read and go, okay, she's got it. She's got it. She knows how to tell the story behind the numbers. You don't want to tell stories behind numbers, not to the IRS, and certainly not to investors. If you want stories behind numbers, go look at it television. Amico. You'll get plenty of stories there. Trayson, he's the grinder. Youthful, driven, no limits. If you have no limits, why do you need $14 million? Right? Where effort meets impact. What the is like a Sunday afternoon special? And none of this, right, is even relevant to the SEC papers that I gave you before. Two different worlds. Like, how is this related to this? At the end of the day, guys, what you want to look at these projects is for experience. If somebody here says, you know, I was the director at Wynn and we made these much properties and I built this and I built that. I'm with the people that, you know, developed this side of Vegas or, you know, this side of a resort. Crap, even the Trump's grandkids could come in here and say, oh, you know, I did buildings, I worked mopping floors, whatever. Anybody could say anything, but nothing on this thing absolutely even reads like anybody knows what the hell they're doing when it comes to building 100 million plus properties. All this BS, all this being focused and fierce and innovative and all this crap doesn't tell you anything about pulling permits, dealing with unions, right? Building to code. None of that. It doesn't get into what you would actually need to make a building, right? So if somebody's asking me on this, I wouldn't even have to go. I wouldn't even have to read the SEC papers before I start telling them, you know, start looking for, just put your money in the bank, right? This is too much of a risk. None of these people have experience. They might as well start building a console. They would have the same level of success. They don't know, you know, as far as I can tell, other than fancy words, they don't have much here. This is a clown show. This is not the way you present yourself if you want to make $100 million plus project. I guarantee you that if you showed up to a venture capitalist meeting with this excrement right here, they would laugh you out of the room. None of them want to hear this crap. That's why they're presenting it to you, because you might buy it. Anybody that has any experience in business would just start laughing and start looking, are we getting free drinks with this meeting? What are we getting? Because that's the only thing that I'm going to get here. Free drinks and food. I ain't investing squat. Not a single dollar. Now, if you do, more power to you. Let us know how it went. Right? All right, humans, that was it. You know, I made a longer 20-minute one for members. You can look that up after you after you watch this. I don't know which one is going to be first for you. Regardless, guys, there's a deeper analysis on that one, a little bit deeper. This one for you guys, if you want to see those kind of videos, you can become a member up there. It's a channel for 99 cents. If you just want to say thank you and buy me some coffee, maybe I prevented some of you from doing something foolish with your money. If I didn't, if I did, let me know in the comments. Are you investing in the Atari Hotel? I wouldn't. Even if hell froze over, I would not invest in this thing. All right, humans, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.